Well, hello friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here, and welcome out to the deck. It's Sunday, so we're going to take a look at a couple of samples, and it's still kind of cool early fall out here, so we are in Scotch territory. These are the only two samples of Scotch I have right now. They're both from Paul. Paul's such a gentleman for helping me out. We're going to take a look at Glenmorangie, A Tale of Cake. Now, I know that made quite a splash last year when it came out, but I haven't had it yet. So this is, Glenmorangie. It's 46% finished in a dessert wine. And then we're going to go over and try Ledaig. Now, this is an independent bottling of Ledaig. It is a cask strength, so like a 60%. And it's 12 years old and aged in a refilled sherry butt. So we're going to talk about possibly a sweet whiskey just because of how it's finished and what I've heard about it. And then something with a little more backbone at 60%. And spent a good 12 years in sherry. So if you got any kind of Scotch, why don't you pour it and we'll kind of sip and see how this Scotch compares with you. Or if you have a Tale of Cake or something from Ledaig, why not that? See you in a minute.
3, 4.
Thanks for staying with me. As I said, the first sample here is Glenmorangie, A Tale of Cake, and I never picked it up. Priced a little bit higher than I wanted to, and I've heard a fair amount, so I'm going to try to just lean into what I'm getting on this sample and tell you my thoughts on this. Now, I can't pronounce Tokaji. I know it's a Hungarian dessert wine, and that's how this is first aged in ex-bourbon, and then it is finished in that Hungarian dessert wine. So, on the nose. Well, there's a fair amount of suggestion, but I will say very sweet, sugar sweet, but also a good amount of fruit. So fruit for me here is like a fruit cocktail almost. So it's quite sweet, that kind of peeled grape, some other cut orchard fruits. But, I can get in pretty deep. It's not overwhelming. It's fairly light. There's a little hints of vanilla and whatnot in there. Not a ton. To me, it really stays on that edge of that fruitiness and a sweet fruit. Let's try it on the palate. Slanja. As always with samples, it's just taste. I'm liking that. I was worried, very worried, we were going to run off into a very sweet territory, but this for me has a gentle maltiness, a little bit of baking spice, definitely a sweetness, but for me it's like that, I think I said it in the nose, it's sort of like a white grape kind of sweetness, and that's okay in this. I was genuinely worried because I really don't like, this is my palate, it's always just my palate, but I really don't like, or I struggle with rum finishes that really have a lot of sugar cane type sweetness in it, and I was worried, Tale of Cake, all I think of is frosting and sugar and icing. It's not quite this. Deserves another sip. Yeah. Second sip, I'm even getting a little bit of oak structure. Like there's a little bit of something, some backbone. So this is a pleasant surprise for me. The malty character, the very fruity nose, and I'm finding a reasonably balanced palate. Far more than I expected. I'm actually appreciating this far more than I expected. I thought for sure this would be well, maybe this is nice, but too sweet for me. There is enough structure and spicing and oaking. There's a conversation in this whiskey. I don't mind it. Maybe if I see it on sale, I'll pick it up. I don't know, but it's not bad. I actually quite like it. All right, let's try an independent bottling with Ledaig. Now, Ledaig has really become a bit of a favorite of mine. Just a nice peated dram. I really appreciate it. So let's try this. Clearly, like this is without any water on it, so it's at the full 60.1%. It's a 12-year-old aged in an ex-sherry butt. So let's see what this gives us. So, a tale of two whiskeys, I might say. This couldn't be further from a tale of cake. It is actually my first nose, which not like, I don't run there in Ledaig, but actually I got a lot of iodine and a lot of brine. It could be the contrast, right? I'm getting just really a ton of that. We're playing in that antiseptic, a little bit of Band-Aid, a little bit of iodine. Now, I don't mind that territory. I just got to get my mind there because it is very strong on the nose and hard to get past in terms of, okay, what other flavors are going on? Yep. The nose at 60% and in contrast like this is just very strong. Medicinal notes. I can get a little bit of smolder, not much. A little bit of brine. I'm going to have a sip and really shift my palate over, and then maybe I'll come back to the nose. So, sláinte. Oh, man. Now that palate was really good. Still very strong, medicinal, but now I can add some campfire and some moss and some. Yeah, now I'm closer to the sea, a little more smolder. Better have another sip. Okay. Decent amount of malt, so that kind of malty bready a bit in there, but I'm gonna have to really water this and let it sit for a moment because it's nice and coating. Bit of cracked pepper on the palate, but again, could be the comparison, but just first sips, I'm really struggling to get at the layers that I'm sure are there. Been swirling for a little while. Let's see how the water has affected this Ledaig independent bottle from Signatory. See what we get. Actually really help the nose. Really open it up. Now I'm getting more of some of that leather fruiting that I was hoping to get because of the ex-sherry casking. Definitely able to get some nice sugars going on. Boy, water really helped this one for me to open up. Let's try it on the palate. Sláinte. Well, yeah, now it's allowed my palate to lengthen out a bit and get a few more. There's a slight pepper, like I don't want to say it's fishy, but there's something slightly on the sea on this one that is quite interesting. And it's with water, it's retained the creaminess. Now it's like, instead of just kind of a oily, it's kind of a creamy, which I really do like. But it has, backed it off from a real kick in the pants to something that I think you could sip and enjoy. But it's also lost a little bit of character. I might have given too much water, helped the nose, but it backed off the palate. Well, but it's an easier sip now. It's just lengthened out. I'm running out of a little graham cracker, like a little more malt forward, a little more cooked dough, so it's creamy. The fruit that I did find in the nose with the water really isn't saying hello in the palate. In fact, if I didn't read that it was finished in ex-sherry, I think I would have struggled to pick this out, that this is 12 years in an ex-sherry butt. Like, you'd think I'd be screaming that from the rooftop, and, well, okay, in the long finish, there are some of those kind of dark sultana raisin notes, a little bit of, yeah, okay, now we're chasing a little bit of oiled leather, a little bit, okay, I can get there, but it's not in any way, for my palate, always only mine, a big sherry bomb. Wow, really nice, very contrasted. If I was getting to know someone, I mean, if I knew them already, I would pick one or the other and likely not serve both in an evening because they are like spectral ends of the Scotch. You know, light, sweet, you know, white grape, but orchard fruit, medicinal, heavy, leather, oily. Like, it's just, these are almost the spectrum of Scotch. Thank you so much again, Paul, for giving me these beautiful samples, and actually for all the viewers that try to help me out with the channel. I don't right now have any other way to give money. I know I should get on a Patreon page, and there's lots of people out there like, hey John, I like your stuff. I'd like to pour you a dram. For right now, I really appreciate those that figure out how to get a little sample bottle to me. It expands the experience, and I love sharing with you guys. Have a great Sunday and then a great work week ahead of you, regardless of whatever is changing and shifting with COVID. Please remember, there's great whiskey when you're too stressed out, and we're in this in a way that we can support each other. You guys take care.